Welcome back to the Great Aussie Build Off. This week we've got Iain back again, and we're going to be continuing along with the Commodore. We've got plenty of stuff to finish off in the engine bay. We're basically going to get all of our accessories plugged in, all of our plumbing done, and all of our ignition leads back on. Once that's done, we're actually going to move back to the back of the car, put the transmission and the crossmember in, fit up our tail shaft. Then once we've got the driveline more or less complete, I think we'll actually start jumping into suspension and brakes.
Let's get some lows.
For those of you guys wondering why we've just done this bush install on the rear subframe, it's for a couple of reasons, but primarily it's to reduce axle tramp on launches. So at the drags, we're getting a ton of axle tramp off the line, which is effectively the wheels moving up and down and loading and unloading off the start line. And we've actually seen witness marks of the front diff yoke touching the heat shield. So you can see that the actual subframe's been bouncing up and down. A really good way to fix that is with these white line inserts. Now, I really like these inserts because it doesn't involve any heavy tools. You can do this at home on your driveway. Basically just lube them up and slide them in. You definitely can do this on jack stands, so you could just support the sills and actually pull the subframe down on a jack. The one thing I would recommend if you are going to do this at home or at all is to make sure that you leave both of your shocks bolted to the vehicle, because that actually supports the cradle from completely falling out of the car. It also means you don't have to undo things like your handbrake cables and your brake lines. So it's nice and simple if you want to DIY it without having to drop the whole subframe out and potentially have to take the subframe to a suspension specialist to have them press it out. We don't have the press tools here to press arms and bushes and stuff. So I feel like this is a really nice little DIY fix that will function probably 95% as well as a completely solid bush. So it does definitely tighten the rear end up, and as well, if you do decide that you don't like it and it's a little bit noisier on the street, they're super easy to remove, whereas if you press the solid bush in, you're really stuck with that. Having said that, the one downside to these bushes is you can actually transmit more driveline noise into the car, so it may be normal to actually get a bit of a diff whine come through the body. Unfortunately, that's just the trade-off of running more stiff bushes. But for the performance benefit, I think it's a pretty good trade-off. And also being a ute, you shouldn't get a ton of that sort of driveline noise transmitted. But we're going to keep moving on, and we're actually going to start tackling the suspension. So Iain's going to get the job of the rear setup, and I'm going to be doing the front.
It's like a Jimmy Barnes solo.
What do we get? What do we get? What do we get?
Oh, did you get those wheels that are like just the blade?
Those status things.
Yeah.
Can you grab the box for me?
I can.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, nice.
So these are our Koya SF13s. So we've gone with an 18x9 for the front and an 18x10 for the rear and for the tyres.
We've got a 235 45 18 on the front and a 265 40 on the rear for some fat meats.
So we've gone with a Zestino street performance tyre. We didn't want to go a full track tyre. Good old Sam still hasn't told us exactly what we're going to be up to, so we'll kind of build the car with a bit of scope to do a bit of everything.
When you've got to haul like a tray load of llamas in that llama hauling challenge, I think these will be the ones to have rather than.
Yeah, they've got a good load rating, so it's definitely llama rated. So we should put them back in the box and take them to the tyre shop to get fitted up. Shocks.
Seeing as you've stopped to unpack all your suspension, would you call this spring brake?
You can do it. Put your back into it. Regards, Ice Cube.
Just reaching into the impossible depths of the Commodore wheel well, waiting for a velociraptor or some unknown monster to just tear my arm off. A perfect match with T2 and T3 rotors. It's nice to be dealing with clean parts after all the schmutz on a 100,000k old Holden Ute. I don't know why I'm reading this because I can't read.
Now, part of the job of building the front struts is actually having to weld these collars in. So part of the Bilstein kit comes with this basically sleeve that allows us to use this locking ring to hold this inverted shock in. And obviously that ring needs to be welded to the factory shock leg. It's pretty critical to get this in the correct spot, and you do actually need to tack it with the shock in place. I'm literally going to put the smallest tacks on in 3 or 4 spots. Then I'm going to completely remove the collar and the shock out of this basically assembly, because this is a pressurized vessel, so welding near it or on it is definitely not safe or something that I would recommend to do. I did actually consult Bilstein about building these, and they did say it's fine to tack it, but you also do need to keep in mind that this gland nut here actually also has a seal, so it's definitely not going to want to get hot. So just super quick tacks. I'm just going to actually TIG these together rather than MIG, because it's a bit more localized heat, and it'll also look a bit prettier. Well, I'm welding it, so it's not going to be pretty, but we'll make it as nice as possible. They're 12.9 grade bolts, internet, relax. Well, we've pretty much bashed out all the brakes now. We've got all our brake system bled. We've also bled the clutch. So we thought while the car's on the hoist and up in the air, we're actually going to get all of our rear section of our exhaust. Much like the headers, these are also the Manta Di Filippo system. This is a bit of the hot sauce jam, according to Iain. So definitely wanted to go for quality stuff. The system that was on it was unknown. The header primary diameter was also a lot smaller than what we've got now, so this should aid in performance as well as going in together with the cam. And we've also got a OTR on order, so hopefully that'll arrive today and we'll get that in, and that'll mean we can actually finish the engine bay as well. Ready?
Yeah. Nah, it needs a heat cycle in it. I think we should run it for probably, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, dump the oil and get everything, you know, because there's going to be bits and pieces in the oil from brake.
Just cleaning the head, like cleaning the deck face and
Yep, all
yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah, I was planning to just get it hot, drop the oil out of it, put some fresh oil in it again before we tune it.
Yep, 100%. Oil's cheaper than an engine.
100%. Woo! We've got our 18x8 and 18x10 Koya racing wheels on with our Zestino tyres. The car's up and running. I'm super happy with how it's turned out so far. In our next episode, we're going to be over at Empire Mechanical and Racing. We're going to be putting this thing on the hub dyno. Next week, however, we're going to be heading over to Motive Video to see how they're progressing with the Falcon. Thanks again to eBay and Sparesbox for this fantastic challenge. Really appreciate their support. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.